Hello there. Thank you very much for opening up this video. I really do appreciate it. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bond, James Bond. I'm a health and fitness expert based in the United Kingdom. I'm also a second generation Indian born and raised in the United Kingdom. Now, unless of course you've been living on a desert island, you'll know that over the weekend, in fact over the last week, there's been considerable media coverage about Batley Grammar School because one of their teachers displayed a cartoon that some people have found somewhat offensive. I believe, how to put this, some people from the Islamic community have found this offensive and are protesting. Well, over the weekend, I actually wrote to all the imams, the Islamic priests who cover that grammar school, and I've actually asked them to ask the protesters to go home. I'll tell you what, let me explain why I actually asked them to do exactly just that. I do freelance security at nightclubs, most commonly at gay bars. Now, a year ago, or roughly about a year ago, there were some protests outside a school in the Midlands about teaching of gay relationships, and the same community were protesting. This had very, very negative impacts on their community, and I fear financial retaliation may take place because it did in that circumstance. Let me explain. When outside the club where I normally work at, there's a taxi rank for the customers who want to go home, and round the corner there is a takeaway, which is the takeaway is run by people of Pakistani Islamic heritage, and a very sizable number of those taxi drivers are Pakistani Islamic heritage. They're wonderful people, by the way. I know some of them quite well. Now, what actually happened was very unfortunate as a result of those protests. A lot of our customers did not feel comfortable getting into taxis driven by such people. So increasing numbers were coming in group of 5 or 4 with a designated driver. And so those taxi drivers lost a lot of money. A lot of our customers were phoning up taxi companies and saying, we want a non-Islamic taxi driver, which is not the nicest things to do, because some of them are actually wonderful. I'll give you an example. I have a good friend who's a taxi driver, second generation Pakistani Islamic person, wonderful guy. And one of our customers was in dire straits. She'd finished with her boyfriend. He'd run off and she had no money. So she's a good friend of mine. So I went up to this taxi driver, wonderful guy, and said, mate, I need a favor. Here's a tenner. Can you take this girl home? He said, no problem. And the following day, he comes to our club and he just says, I didn't take the tenner. Here it is back. And he just said, this woman was very distressed. I didn't want to take money off her. And he just said, it's part of my zakat where they have to give 1/40 of their time to good causes. I really appreciated that. He's a really good guy. But some of those taxi drivers went from earning a good wage to basically being on just over minimum wage within a matter of weeks. That's not nice. We're in a financial crisis because of COVID at the moment, and lots of people have lost their jobs because of it. We don't need any more of this to happen. Okay, next thing, the takeaway around the corner. They were taking in thousands at the weekend. After this, they just about covered their staffing costs. Staff had to be let go, because they couldn't afford to keep them on. For these protesters, go home. I'm going to tell you an alternative in a second. Now, before I forget, I also remember one very decent taxi driver. I was there at the 7th July London bombings in London the day it went off. And we had this big suitcase with us. And what actually happened is, taxi driver came up to us. It was a Pakistani background, opened the door and said, get in. And he took us back to Euston Station. He didn't take a fee. Now, my dad was with me, and he gave him £30. The guy says, I'm not going to take any money off you. My dad gave him his business card and £30. 2 weeks later, we got a letter back from that taxi driver. He'd actually given it to the local Sikh temple and donated it to their Langar fund, which I thought was a very nice thing of him to do. Langar is a free gift of food given by Sikh temples to the community, and it's commonly taken up by the homeless. Very often, it's the only meal they might have all day long. So that I thought was very, very good of him. And I said, there's many good Pakistani people around. I know lots of them. Now, the thing here is, they're worried about us not respecting them. The way you gain respect is you do good work. Let me give you a couple of examples of this. I was there at Anfield, Liverpool Football Club's ground, the day, well, when John Barnes was there. Okay, and I'll never forget one of his first games against we were playing Queen's Park Rangers. I was standing on the Kop, and there were some Liverpool supporters who didn't like the idea of a black man playing for them, and they didn't like it. I didn't say anything. Anyway, Barnes put on a magnificent performance, and the second half he scored two magnificent goals, and the same supporters were jumping up and down chanting the name Johnny Barnes, Johnny Barnes. And a few weeks later, I saw the same supporters wearing John Barnes t-shirts. He won them over with his magnificent skill. I also remember the game when Stan Collymore played his first game for Liverpool. Stan Collymore, like John Barnes, is black. Now, it was against Sheffield Wednesday. And what actually happened was, during the game, the Sheffield Wednesday supporters were hurling a whole load of vile abuse at Stan Collymore. So, some of it I can repeat online. I'm saying, what a waste of money. Some of it was vile racist abuse, which I don't want to repeat. It's horrible. And I remember once he was taking a corner, they were throwing bananas at him. I thought it was terrible. But what he did was, halfway through the second half, Barnes passed the ball to him, and he scored an absolute screamer from 30 yards. From that moment onwards, all you could hear from the Wednesday supporters was pin drop silence. He'd shut them up. And in a fell swoop, he won the respect of all Liverpool supporters in the country. Great. Let me give you another example. My dad came to the UK, became a GP, a family doctor for those of you in America. And what actually happened was, some of the local other GPs wouldn't do out-of-hours cover with him. Some consultants wouldn't take his referrals. But he persevered. He didn't do an appointment system. You just turned up, you were seen. In those days, government targets were emergency patients had to be seen within 2 or 3 days. Dad saw them same day. Anyone with a long-term illness was seen every 3 months to keep their symptoms under control. Hence, his referrals were to hospital were very, very low. What also used to happen was, as time went on, he expanded his clinics. Anytime he got some money behind him, he got a new clinic, like high blood pressure clinic, asthma clinic, well woman clinic, etc., etc., etc. And what actually happened was, his practice list expanded. All government targets were exceeded, and a time came when he was employing between 10 and 15 people at any one time. Over his working life, he gave the taxman some £2.5 million taxes. That's how you gain respect. You do good work. Let's consider the Bearded Brothers. They are a wonderful group of people. I'm good friends with the guy who runs it, a guy called Imran Hamid. It's a food bank in the Midlands run by some Pakistani Muslims. They're great. They're good people. They really are good people. And they give out free food to those people in need. And they do a wonderful good work. Now, the thing is, that's how you gain respect, by doing good work and positively contributing. And I would openly say that Imran and his group of people do more good work for the community than between 9 o'clock in the morning and 9:01 in the morning than these protesters ever will do. So what I would say to these people is, go home. You spend the time you're spending protesting is time away from your families. And the thing is, family time is very valuable. Work hard, do some good work for the community, and basically earn respect that way. Now, the thing here is, by contrast, I'm of Indian Hindu background. Feel free to send me as many Indian jokes as you like. The funnier, the better. The worst you'll get from me is a handshake as we share a drink over the pub, as we have a couple of drinks in the local pub. Now, here are my favorite Indian jokes. Why must they ban India from playing in the World Cup? Every time they get a corner, they can open up a shop. Now, what does a family of Indians do when it's cold? They sit around the candle. What's a family of Indians do when it's really cold? Light it. What do you call an Indian who doesn't own a corner shop, isn't an engineer, isn't a doctor, dentist, accountant, or a lawyer? A liar. Now, what's the capital of England? It's London. What's the capital of France? Paris. What's the capital of Ireland? Dublin. What's the capital of India? Leicester. And what's the capital of Pakistan? Do you know? Bradford. Okay, those are my favorite jokes. I can laugh at these jokes. Why can't other people do that? So, as I said, in conclusion, I've written to the imams covering Batley, asking them to send those protesters home. If you are one of those protesters, don't waste your time. Turn around, go home, go and do some good work for the community, and gain respect of the general public by doing good work. Thank you very much for your time. My name's Bond, James Bond. Leave you shaken but not stirred. And if you look down below, you'll see I've put a fact sheet. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.